Greetings to one and all, it's your old buddy Jay here, coming at you with another episode of Countermeasures. We're in the drawing room again this week. Camera's a little bit lower than normal, but that's okay. Wouldn't be an episode if I wasn't already straight in with technology going awry. Anyway, I hope you have all had a nice week. I can't believe it's actually been a week since the last episode. I've been enjoying doing these. There was a time when I was kind of doing them a little bit sporadically. I'm trying to do them every week now because there's a lot of good stuff coming out at the moment. I'm working on a lot of different projects that are really inspiring me to talk about comics a little bit more. There's a lot of stuff coming up this year which is very exciting to me. We've got some projects out in the wind, we've got some comics out on the shelves, and yeah, a few prospects coming up, which is exciting times ahead. Now, this channel isn't monetized. I think you need a minimum of 10,000 followers, and I have like nearly 5,000. So I do appreciate anybody that tunes in and watches any of these. I don't really kind of go in for the monetization of this thing. This is just a way to kind of essentially motivate me to do something once a week at the same time, whereas my normal day job is a little bit sporadic and all over the place with various deadlines changing constantly. This kind of grounds me a little bit in firstly keeping my commitment to wanting to do more comics and talk about comics, but also the need to kind of keep refreshing myself every week, to kind of keep looking at things that are currently out in the wild that other people are reading, things that are coming out on a weekly basis, and also catching up with maybe some of those other comics that either I missed the first time round, I've always been a fan of but never quite got to, or I've just never seen, and I think it's worth maybe just throwing them out there if it's something you might be interested in. Anyway, before I even get into that, I have to shill. Of course I have to shill, because we have so many things going on at the moment. There are so many projects and things that are going on, but there are also things out there that I just want to kind of promote. If you don't mind, just going to do this real quick. It's the only real kind of bit of live advertising we do for any of this stuff. And there's a little bit of it on Instagram, etc. All my details are here if anybody wants to follow any of that. But these are the books that are currently out in the wild. We have Danger Mouse, the 40th anniversary special. This is a good one. Interviews with David Jason, comic strips from a couple of classic episodes, plus an additional one which I was able to draw and get in there, and a whole load of other kind of fun bits and pieces. This is available from jackrabbitcomics.com. The links will be down in the any of the links that I mention, or any of the books that I show here will be on the links below, in the information below this video. So usually this is jackrabbitcomics.com, not in Cosmic Comics yet, but it will be shortly, I believe. And also you can get this on Amazon, but I think that's it. I don't think they are. That one is in Waterstones. Beyond the Black Void, the best kind of anthology graphic novel that I've worked on to date. Very happy working with lots of different creatives, artists and writers. This is available at Waterstones, and you can also get it at jackrabbitcomics.com. So there you go, there's that. We've got the second one coming out later this year. Pugs in Space, issue 1 and issue 2. And now this week, exclusively, the remastered version of issue 3, the Pawshank Redemption. This one, it was a lot of fun to do. It is a reprint of the original print, which came out in 2023. The original one, which I have here. Now, this second issue is actually a variant cover that we did at the time. The thing that's a little bit special about this issue is that just before we did issue 3, let me just move this over a bit. Just before we did this issue 3 in 2023, initially, we ran a competition, and we had a lot of people send in drawings and characters and things like that, and the idea was that you would create a character, you'd maybe write a few lines about what that character's name was and what they would do, and then we would write that character into the story of issue 3. Now, in this particular issue, spoilers, this guy, who he ended up being called Red in the book, but his full name is Squidatron. was the person who won it, and it's kind of like this little blue squid. They all meet in a prison together, and he has quite a large role in kind of helping guide the pugs along their way to find those sausages. This particular issue, here's the original drawing, and this was done by Luca Marguida, who was age 10 at the time, which now means he's 13, 14, and probably slightly embarrassed to be mentioned. But anyway, shout out to you. Great work. And then we had a follow-up here, second and third place, of which the second place one we did actually end up using. The third place one we were going to dial into one of the stories, but that might be something in the future. Then there's a whole load of promo stuff in here as well. But yes, both of those are now available from Cosmic Comics. You can also get them from Jack Rabbit Comics. Always love a bit of the Pugs. Issue 4 comes out next month. Scarily, issue 5 is the wrap-up of that story. That does come out in June, maybe July, but we'll see how that gets on regarding timings. Skipper Whiskers Time Hunter. This is something that I produced last year. It was like an experimental sort of concept, initially just so that I could basically get a little bit crazy with dip pens and doing a little bit of experimentation in terms of print and what I could kind of get away with in terms of just experimenting with colour, really. I got to sort of create a character, a universe, all that kind of stuff, which overlaps with the Pugs a little bit. That one's out. Also, I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't mention that Ryan Twyford, who is a friend and writing partner of mine, he has the Night Shift out at the moment, 2 alternate covers. You can get this at his store, again links below. Great book, that one. And the other things we have coming on, crikey, I need an assistant to pass me these things. The other things we have coming on this year, we have Beyond the Black Void Volume 2, that comes out in November. We have The Survivor, which has, currently we're working on 3 different covers. That's going to be standalone story, around 22 pages. I think the whole book is about 40. So I'm working on that at the moment. Then we have Free Comic Book Day coming up, which we have the black and white artist collection for Beyond the Black Void, which is initially just my stories. I didn't really want to kind of pad that out too much, so it's got a couple of stories written and drawn by me. It has a story written by Ryan and illustrated by me, and that's just kind of like a little 36-page giveaway we're going to do for Free Comic Book Day. We have a taster for Pugs in Space, which is the kind of first 2/3 of that story, and the same for Skipper Whiskers as well. Essentially what's going to happen the week just before Comic Day is I'm just going to drive around to the various places like Piranha and Kent Comics, Cosmic Comics, and Gosh, and give them our free comics, and then do with them as they will. That's the shilling. That's everything that we've got going on to date. I haven't mentioned that I am wearing my Frank Miller OG t-shirt today. Alan Moore got a few good thumbs up last week, so look, every now and again you'll just see Frank's eyes just do that. Look, yeah. I'm actually going to see him do a talk in London in July, debating whether to wear my OG t-shirt. Possibly will do. Now, what comics have we got here? Oh my lord, we have a whole gaggle this week. So we have 2000 AD. This is $4.99 this week, and I was like, really? A fiver? I used to pay like 16p. Anyway, I know times have changed. And the paper quality has definitely improved. But it's also twice as thick. It's like an extra thick issue. And I haven't really had a chance to flick through it. But there is a Rogue Trooper story in there. So there you go. Then we have Cosplayer versus Shark. Quite like the look of this one. It is a one-shot from Antarctic Press. I have no idea what that's going to be like, but I just like the cover. We've got a Bizarro Year Non, written by Kevin Smith. This one just came out. Again, I'm not going to open up any of these just because at some point I will do a bit of a dive into them. Logan Black, White and Blood. Issue 1 of Alien, King Killer. Again, I've always loved the Alien books. What I like about them is that they tend to sort of steer clear of anything that's kind of Prometheus onwards. It's all a little bit more based in the kind of mystery of what these creatures are. So a lot of these stories don't tend to lean into any of that, which I quite like. G.I. Joe. Now, this is the silent missions. Look, so the extra S's for this. This is the Baroness one. I got the last set, which were the silent missions, which were like 4 or 5 different stories. One was drawn by Danny. One was, they were all different stories where there was no dialogue in any of them, which, no disrespect to you writers out there, of which I do count myself among you, even if a lowly one. I do find that no dialogue works for me, because then you get lots of space to play. Anyway, this is quite good. It has a few sketchbook things in the back. I don't want to catch the light too much on there, but I think you can just about see that. So that's G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe again, 323. I missed this one, so I actually think this came out. This is the December issue, according to this, and I missed this. I don't quite understand why I missed this one. I keep skipping. I don't know if it's my local comic shop is not getting them, or out of order, or whatever, but I seem to be suffering a little bit on that. I also had this one as well, which is They're All Terrible Deluxe Edition. Now, I don't know if anybody's read any of these. This seemed to be right up my street, and the reason I say right up my street is that has a nice silk finish on the cover. I'd say that's probably about a 120, which I liked. And then when you open it up, it has a filthy uncoated paper inside, which I absolutely adore. These are probably the weights that we're going to go through the VoidTails books. I also like the fact that it was opening up with kind of concept sketches. There's a nice kind of graphic element to it. And then what I really liked about it, and having said my disgust for digital colouring in the past, of which I am guilty of doing a lot of that, especially in the Pugs. I've learnt a lot about it. I know a decent amount about it. I don't particularly like the finish of it in a lot of cases. The Pugs are different. That's a little bit kind of the flatting style of that feels appropriate. But what I quite liked about this, and the fact that it's on an uncoated, does feel like recycled as well. The fact that it's on an uncoated and yet the colours really pop. And I was quite inspired by that, because that's something that I am looking into at the moment. Just for my own work, I quite like the look of that. And then obviously there is another deep dive into a slightly different palette at the back. Anyway, I'm looking forward to getting into that one. The other one that I got, which was a bit of a surprise to me, is that I got another episode of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees the Rite of Spring. I read all 5 of them this week, had an absolute blast. And when I read the 5th issue, it felt like the end of the story. So I didn't expect to see a 6th one. So today when I just went in to pick up my books, there it was on the shelf. And I was like, right, okay. Because I'm classically not somebody that has a pull list. This is why I miss issues. It's from my childhood. I like going in and grabbing them off the shelves. So the spinner rack is my happy place. So if I can do that and get the ones I want, then everything seems to sort of fit together and work for me. For some reason, just going in and taking my the comics that I've pre-ordered from a box, I don't know. There's something that it takes away the mystery. But anyway, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, that is something that I think it's worth looking into, and I've mentioned it before, but it is a good series. But the standout book of the week is this one here. Now, I haven't opened it. It is one of those ones where it's the hidden issue. Daredevil #1. I have something to say about this, because before I've even looked into it, and I saw all the other ones, all the alternate covers and whatever, and I don't know what's going to be in this. But what I found particularly hilarious about this is that it's the Daredevil blind bag. Now, I know blind bags are a thing, right? So it's why my kids, when we go to the store, they'll see something on the shelf that's like, I can see what it is, I could buy it. But over here there's a box that costs the same amount of money, but I can't see what it is, but I know it's going to be one of these 5 or 6 things. That's more intriguing. So they always gravitate towards that, right? So, and in recent years, the Marvel and DC have started doing blind bags, which obviously have all of the kind of variant covers in them, and occasionally they'll have like a special where it's like, oh, you have the chance of getting a foiled cover, which is a limited edition or whatever. That's fine. I think it's particularly bad taste that they have a Daredevil blind bag. The guy's blind! I mean, I don't know. I think someone somewhere, I don't know if they had that conversation and they just don't care. I think it's bad taste, actually. But who am I to... I mean, it's funny. I say it's bad taste. It's the kind of thing that I would definitely do myself if I had the opportunity to do it, because there's something dark about it. It's like having, like a Professor X. I don't know, like the kind of disabled ramp special. It just feels a little bit like maybe they've gone a little too far with the blind bag. They could have called it like mystery bag or whatever, or not even labelled it anything, because they don't have blind bag written on everything when they do these blind bags. But on this one they call it the blind bag, which I like absolute respect for the disrespect. I think I'd be interested to see what people think about that. It actually made me laugh out loud. I do think that, like, I've been a graphic designer for a long time, and a lot of the things that I work on, tone of voice is a huge thing. In an ad campaign or in like branding, whatever project you're working on, whatever messaging you're trying to get across, there is always a kind of a balance between the identity, the look and the feel, but also the messaging that you're getting out there. That balance, you have to think about taste during that. I think it's kind of in bad taste, but maybe I'm just being a bit sensitive. Now, this Daredevil True Believers blind bag contains one copy of Daredevil #1 with one of the following covers. Look, there's all of these. Look, there's Daniel Warren Johnson. There's another Daniel Warren Johnson. There's a lot of Peach Momoko. I quite like the Peach Momoko one. I really like her work. 250. There's an ultra rare mystery cover. So I'm going to open this up. I have a feeling that this is going to be generic cover #1, but that's just me. Now I wonder if I'm actually hacking this open with my shiv. Don't do that at home, kids. What have we got here? Oh, it's uncoated. Justice is Blind. Actually feels quite nice. Oh, I like a bit of uncoated paper. Yeah, okay. So who did this one? Let's have a little looky. Oh, okay. So there's the cover, and then it has the wrap. Is the wrap just a bonus? Look, I quite like how they've done the cover isn't uncoated. It's just a thing. They've punched the holes where the staples go, where the stitches go. This looks like... Who have we got on the cover here? Now then, it is a variant edition. Doesn't actually have a signature on it. I can't recognise the artist. It's so digital. Could be anyone. Anyway, this is the latest Daredevil book. Art looks pretty good. TV show is actually pretty good too. I've been getting into that, the second part of the second series of Daredevil on Disney. There was some worry that Disney show would kind of not follow on the tradition of the Daredevil show from Netflix, which was particularly good. And actually, they've done a good job in matching up the tone and voice again, and like the style and everything like that. And they swear a lot in it. Which I'm not necessarily sure I mean, the gratuitous violence and whatever is one thing, because it's comic book, you sort of get away with that a little bit, where it's a little bit, everything's over the top, someone gets their arm broken or whatever, it's like, that's fine. But then when there's loads of swearing in it, it's like not that kid friendly. I think it's a 15 plus. So then the few other things that I got today. I did get some other things today. I had a right old treat day. The first thing was 42, the New Mutants. This is an OG issue of the New Mutants. Let's get this out. I think I've worked out that my camera has an issue with the reflective plastic. Yep. Yeah, this is very interesting because the illustration on the inside, Chris Claremont writer, Jackson Geiss is breakdowns, Kyle Baker finishing, then we've got editor. So Jackson Geiss breakdowns? I mean, there's no kind of hard illustrator on this. So breakdowns would be the layouts. The finisher, Kyle Baker. I guess I don't really know. Tom Ozorkowski, classic famous letterer. See Jim Shooter. Yeah, I mean this issue again. I like picking up the old issues to take a look at some of these. I like the style of a lot of this kind of stuff. But you know, interestingly enough, John Byrne cover. Even though there's no signature, you can tell this structure here is Byrne. There was a time in the late 70s, early 80s where there were a lot of really popular artists that people liked. They came up through drawing a lot of issues of books. Then when they became really popular, what they would do is they would just have them do covers all the time. And by doing the covers, it helped sell the books because people would think that the art inside was done by the cover artist, which is how it should be, in my opinion. Now, again, Barry Windsor Smith, looks like it. But the artist, however, again, we've got Jackson Geis as penciler. He's labelled as penciler in this one, not just layouts. And then Carl Baker as inker. Again, same team. Ozorowski doing the lettering. Issue 45. Again, different cover. Not by the artist on the interiors. Although these interiors do look very good. But there's a lot of Art Adams. There's a lot of influence around that time. You know, a lot of copycat illustrators. I haven't really heard of those two guys before. In my naivety, and you know, again, it looks pretty decent. Everything's there that you could want. But you know what? They say that the style of your art isn't done by the how good you can draw a staircase or somebody flying through the sky. It's actually the mistakes you make that help build the style of your work. And I like that. I like the fact that like everyone could draw the same leg, but then if you do it a little bit different, if you make an error, if your natural tendency is to kind of do something a little bit off, that kind of makes that yours, you know. The other thing that I picked up, which has been around for a little while, I don't see when this was printed. It's been around for a minute. Yeah, first printing was 2021, and this is that first wave. So I just saw this laying around. I've seen it a few times before, but every time I do see it and then I go back, it's disappeared. It's the Charlie Adlard drawings and sketches, obviously most well known for doing the Walking Dead books, but I like the idea of, and I mean everything's so kind of finalized and finished in those books that I was just curious to see some of the process, you know, like these kind of sketch drawings of potential covers, you know, very quickly inked and roughed together, and then obviously, because the one thing that people don't always talk about in these books, especially The Walking Dead, because of the pace that those things were being kicked out, is the design of them is just really beautiful. I mean, aside from the art, you know, you can see like all the kind of pencils and inks and whatever. Aside from the art of those books, the layouts and the structure of how they're put together, just from a visual point of view, the storytelling that happens, I would argue that for a lot of that continuous story from start to finish, you could take out a lot of dialogue and it would still hold up, you know. But yeah, so there's a lot of Walking Dead stuff in here. But then what I also liked about it is that you know, there are also some very nice kind of, you know, this is marker pen, sketchbook stuff, maybe things that didn't become things but that he just liked doing. So yeah, really great stuff. Interesting. I think there was a dread there. Yeah, maybe it became something else. Yeah, it did become a cover. Best of 2000 AD number 3 for Rebellion 2020. Yeah, really worth picking up. I just really liked it. There's a little bit of blue line work there, and I like the fact that his sketches are very simple actually, to build the structure of those pages. So yes, very much liking that. Now, that wasn't the best thing that I got this week. The best thing that I got this week, which I'm not even sure this is going to fit on, but the best thing I got this week was when it's like a dramatic entrance when the focusing comes in, was Herb Trimpe's The Incredible Hulk Artist Edition. Now it's so big, it doesn't even fit on my screen. Oh, there you go. So essentially, Herb Trimpe is one of the most well-known illustrators of the Hulk. Way back when. I mean, when you think of the Hulk, or when I think of the Hulk, obviously you've got McFarlane's version of the Hulk, you've got like Eric Larsen's version of the Hulk, and then ever since then there's been a cascading series of Marvel artists that have tackled it. But when I think of the Hulk, the 80s Hulk that I grew up watching, reading in comics, especially the adverts, they would always use Herb Trimpe illustrations. Herb's the guy. He is like what I remember the Hulk being like when I was a wee boy. And it's dedicated to the member of Herb Trimpe. I don't know when he passed away. This is dedicated. This actually came out in 2015, so before then, I'm assuming they didn't anticipate his death by bringing it out. But yeah, these things are just epic. Like. This is one of 3 pages not scanned from original art. Okay, so because they're so old, they're obviously struggling to find some of the originals. But what I'm interested in looking at is when he actually started. Usually there's a little intro. There's usually a little intro or a timeline. They may have gone overboard in the size of the ISBN. Don't necessarily need that. But yeah, I mean, what I love about these artist editions, I am going to do some episodes where we're just looking at artist editions. I'll get a better setup than this so you can actually see what you're looking at. But they are great, especially these older ones. I mean, they're such beautiful things. Like now, you're looking through artist editions that have come out, like, let's say sort of mid 80s onwards, and you've got like influences like Liefeld and Frank Miller and all of these kind of really great artists that have really changed the page structure, have had things blowing out of panels, doing creative design work within the structure of these pages. Whereas in Trimpe's day, this is what it was all about. It was like splash pages. It was like, we have a kind of a 6-panel grid going on here where, the story has to fit in within these spaces. He's working, I mean, this would probably be Marvel method, but he is working incredibly hard within the confinements of that. And what I also like, and I don't know how well this is showing up, it's not showing up too badly actually, but there's a hell of a lot of blue line in here. So, blue pencil is basically, and I'm sure you know this, but, artists draw in blue pencil in order to, when it comes to the process of creating the plates for printing, the blue is incredibly easy to remove, leaving all of the black ink work. So what they would have done is they would like pencil this all in blue pencil, then they would ink it all, and then when they made their photo stats or plates or however they were doing it back then, there was no digital, so they would have been making plates of this stuff. It would only focus in on the black, and it would ignore the blue, and then it was obviously coloured in the blue line method, I do believe. Now the blue line method, this is a proper lesson here. The blue line method of colouring in those days would be blue penciling's done by the artist, they then ink over the top. The black is separated on a separate plate, or maybe it's put onto like a clear plastic sheet where there is no blue line, it's all black. Then the blue line method of that would be they would create a page that was exactly the same size as the black overlay, and everything on there that was black would be made blue, and that would be either on like a watercolor paper, or it would probably in those days be on like some cheap old crap. Anything that they could get to essentially just save some money and get the colouring done. And the idea would be that they would then fill the colours on the blue line. They would on that page, and then the overlay would then be put on top of that, and then that would either be photostated or Yeah, I guess that's how they used to do it. No scanners. Photographed, possibly. Negatives made. Who knows? But there were a whole load of different processes. But that is one way that they used to colour these books. And what I love about this is there's so much blue line on here, right? So what that tells me is that the preliminary thumbnails probably didn't exist. He probably just went straight in with this blue line, because there's so much stuff that changes. You can see from blue to black, things that have been left out, even to the point where Trimpy's drawn in where the dialogue balloon is going to go here. I guess for two reasons. One, as a guide for the person who's actually going to be filling the text there, but also another reason being that, to save time, they wouldn't have drawn behind the word balloons in those days. Whereas now, like, what tends to happen is you create all the artwork and then the balloons go in afterwards. And again, you get to see stuff like this where that Hulk logo, that's just printed and cut out. Or it could have been inked on a separate piece of paper. You can see all of the white, if you can get a look at that. You can see white media here, Tipexing out any kind of dodgy lines. You see, when the black plate representation of that is made, all of this stuff will disappear. All the incidental stuff. I mean, this has gone yellow over time, but all of the sort of the blues or any of the. I mean, there's a lot of white media in here. It does make me think that potentially, like I said, there were very few thumbnails done. It was probably done straight on the page, and then they inked from that. Because look at this guy. I mean, the structure of everything here is all over the place compared to what they actually inked. So it's very interesting to see that. Not many artist editions have that amount of blue line on, so it's really great to see what they decided to change. Like just things like this. I mean, like this guy obviously was a little bit too small with his hat. He's meant to be closer than this guy, but then so they just blew that up. And I mean, drawing something like the Hulk, I mean, it is an artist's dream to do something like that. I mean, I would love to do something like that. But in those days, look, I mean, they, lettering and all that stuff. It was just all cut out by hand. It was all paste up. Some of these things have been around for such a long time that look, these are like all bled through. Anyway, it's very interesting to me to go through and look at this stuff, because not enough books inform you of the process, and something like this really does show you. I mean, even to the point where you've got like the white out behind some of the lettering where they've changed part of the story. I mean, there's so much work here, and Herb Trimpe, I mean, like, he was the OG in my opinion. I mean, I know everybody loves a bit of Kirby, but I don't know. This was my foray into the Hulk. Just really, really excellent stuff. Just brilliant work. But I mean, like this girl's face here. I mean, basically the whole thing's been repainted out with white media. So Tipex or whatever. That didn't exist back then, but they would have just used some whitener just to kind of erase any errors. But what's also quite amazing is that a lot of these pages have none of that on, which means that the first strike with the brush would have been the final one, which is quite amazing. And then you get like these cool things like where the brushwork just overlaps on there, and obviously when that's reduced down, you see that less. And things like the word in breaking out of the border panel, things like that all have to be considered on the layouts of these things. Anyway, that's me going on. I'll go on about this all day. Oh, this is excellent that they've got all the covers at the back. And I will have a sort of better setup so we can actually have a look at these in a little bit more detail. But yeah, truly excellent find. I got it for a really good price as well. I think it was meant to be about 160 quid, and I got it for 75. So that is an absolute blinder. I mean, they're massive, so there's nowhere for me to actually put them. There's no shelf that exists in the world where that would fit. So they do all kind of lie on their sides, stacked, which is not the best. And if I stand them up, then I'm worried about them warping. So that's just for me to worry about. So I think that's more or less it. I think I've covered all the 5 billion things I wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed the deep dive into stuff I'm shilling, this week's comics, and of course Herb Trimpe's Incredible Hulk. I'm going to go nuclear on these artist editions because I have several of them that I want to talk about. So I'm going to start doing some more of those in the future, like proper chats about going a little bit more in depth into the art of these, because I think there's something to be said. And I mean, on my sleeve I wear my love for cartoonist kayfabe, and I've loved that channel since it started and when it sadly ended, and I wanted to sort of continue a little bit more of these, which they did a lot of, so I think it's worth doing that. Anyway, until next time, be good, stay safe, and be kind to one another. And I do have like a little illustration thing which is following this, so hopefully you'll have some fun watching that. Yeah. Hello, welcome. So I'm assuming you've just had an amazing video of this week's comics. I am going to do something slightly different this week. Usually I'd be doing like an illustration from kind of start to finish, or maybe a painting that I've sort of started but then I'll try to wrap it up. I'm actually working on several different projects at once at the moment. Some of them are 20 pages. One of them's like a 40 pager. I think there's actually only about 30 pages of drawing. I'm also doing an 8-page story with a writer called Dan Pollard. Now, I do have quite a bit to get on with this because we have a deadline looming at the end of the middle of May. So we're all on track, and that's fine. And I know exactly what I'm doing, and basically now it's just about putting the time in to make sure that I'm happy with the layouts and I'm happy with the detail of what it is I'm drawing, and just getting that to a point where it's at a stage of presentation. Now, there isn't a print deadline for that date, but we're pretty much going to have it finished to the point that we're happy with it, whether there's any amendments that need to be made, and whether it actually goes into publication. Those are two factors that I don't know anything about at the moment, but the first stage is to get our story tight, our illustrations tight, get it all pulled together, and just have this very simple 8-pager. Now, the story is called Ergo Sum of All Fears. This is the script that Dan gave to me earlier this year. Basically what I'll do is just a 1-page script. We're working in a process that they call the Marvel method. Now, if you've not heard of the Marvel method, basically what Stan Lee would do back in the day, originally what he would do is he would, giving away spoilers here, but what he would do is he would pen out all the stories, all the dialogue, and then he would get Jack Kirby to draw them, or Steve Ditko to draw them up, and then they would work in that process. Over time, what ended up happening was that there were so many books being done each month, and Stan had his hands in all of them, and other writers did too, I'm sure, but I think predominantly Stan Lee had editorial control. So what he would do is he would outline a story without putting any of the detail in, and he would basically say, this happens around this page, this happens on this page, there's a fight here, there's a space battle. So it'd be like a kind of outline of what the script could be, and that worked on 2 levels. Number one, it meant Stan could just do loads of them and give them all out to people, and then let artists essentially work out the pacing and structure of the pages, which I think is actually my preferred way of working, rather than being told panel top left this, panel top right this. I'm like being much more flexible, and I might change my mind about pages as I'm doing them and flip things around, and I'm constantly changing things through the process. But when you're given such rigid rules of where things need to go, that can be liberating in some ways, because you don't have to think about it, but I find it very restrictive from a kind of artist point of view. So I actually like to work this way. So Dan basically gave me a script, which I have here. I then worked through it, basically scribbled down a whole load of ideas as I'm reading it, and then worked out that what we might do for this this particular 8-pager is that we're going to have 4 double-page spreads. The idea being that, and this is what interests me, the idea being that it's actually one fluid story and all of the pages connect to each other. So the structure of how the different boxes come up, the kind of it's quite energy based kind of lots of blobs and splashes and Kirby crackles and things like that, which is a nice device to kind of tie all of this stuff together. So I've essentially put together 4 double page spreads that could be seen as one giant piece of work. So that change of format actually really interested me. So and luckily Dan felt the same way, and we kind of had some ideas about, you know, where it would start, where it would end up. I'm not going to talk through the script, and I'm also not going to talk through all of the pages, because one, they're still kind of in development. 2, Dan's polishing off the script, so things may change again. 3, I don't really want any spoilers, so this is just a piece of work that I need to get on with, and the opening spread of this is quite a nice introduction to how I'm tackling this one. And 4, I'll be here all day. So basically the way that I approached this was, I worked out this. Then I went to do some very quick layouts of those spreads, and then moved on, which I don't actually have a copy of that with me, but I then moved on to a third stage, which was then to basically, and this was been pinned up on my wall, hence the torn corner, but I worked out this opening spread, having these kind of characters, this kind of layout, sort of started messing around with some of the structure and making everything a little bit more flexible. Then my next sort of move on to the next part of that is to take it and blow it up really big. So these were just scrawled out on an A4. I did all this very quickly, pencil and biro, just to get the structure right, and I'm very happy with the structure of that. I made a couple of changes, as you'll see from here. During the last illustration, we've got this character here who's kind of like an office worker. He was kind of facing in an odd direction, so I've kind of spun him around here. I think you can just get him on the thing there, so he's more encompassed as this piece of work. And I like the idea that, like, there's a story being told, but, you know, when the pages all kind of unfold, it's like this great big this thing. Now that will also never be printed in a magazine in that way. I mean, if someone wants to splash out and do a big fold out thing, brilliant. Super expensive to do. Not many people do it unless their print runs are like in the tens of thousands of millions potentially. So if you're a great artist that may be showing your work, you may have that as like a centre spread. It's a very expensive thing to do in print. So we're actually working it out in a way that it also works as double page spreads. So at no point is this prohibitive from us being able to get things into publication. It's just that from a creative point of view, I just thought the format might be more interesting. So it basically starts off where we've got this character here is kind of morphing into an office environment, which these guys are here, attacking this lady, and then we've got a little sequence here where this kind of dog-like character is attacking the lady. There's a close-up of the office workers. I switched this because there was a little bit of, you know, sometimes when you're doing these layouts and you're moving quickly, you've got something you want to say here, you just do it really, really sort of like quick and dirty. But actually, when you start kind of really focusing in on what that structure is, there's a little bit of a tangent here where this box was starting to look like a little dog on his back kind of thing. So actually what I did is I flipped that round, so we've got this guy kind of coming in here, and then obviously I've redone this one here. So I take this and then I just blow it up. I print off, the way I did it actually is I just have an A3 printer here. I would love an A2 printer, that would make my life easier, and an A2 scanner, but unfortunately I can't remortgage the house to buy those at the moment, so until the price of them come down. You can get an A2 printer for around £500 or £600. The really good ones are about £2,500. That's not going to happen. I just don't want to waste the money, and also the majority of the stuff I do at this size I'm doing manually anyway, so I don't really need a printer for that. But it would be good for when I want to do bigger things and splat paint around, but that's maybe something for the future. So what I've done is I've essentially printed this off as 2 A3s, and then I've attached it to my light board here, which I'll show you in just a sec, and then I've built the structure of my essentially my glamorous thumbnails into working out a little bit more detail on here and just tightening it all up a little bit. Also, we've got the title here, Ergo Sum of All Fears, which is something that we wanted to incorporate, so like these little bubbles and splats of energy and things like that that are going to develop through time will actually encompass what's going on with this logo as well. And at the moment these are pencils, so my ultimate goal is to, and this is actually a stage that I rarely do to this level. I mean, I would potentially usually just do a layout as pretty close to this in terms of detail, and then I'd go straight to inks, because I like to splat ink around. I don't want to try and replicate an ink line in pencil, but that said, on this particular job, because there's so many complex little bits happening where we've got like kind of these sort of transmorphed bits of atoms and things like that floating around in front of things and behind things, I just feel that when I come to do the inking, if I have a much better idea about where the depth of those things are, it will make my life a lot easier in terms of making sure that everything is sort of structurally sound. So what I've spent a bit of time today working on is just been working on these guys here. Basically, once I've got the layouts done, I'll show you, I blew these up. So what you've got here, you'll see, if you look closely, is, you obviously have this kind of blown up character's face here. And then obviously when I turn it off, you have the pencils. And ultimately what I'm going to end up with is a much more detailed pencil layout, which what I would really love to do, and this will be a time thing, but what I would really love to do is then do the same thing again, which is I'll scan this in, and then I'll split the pages, and then each page I would actually like to ink at A2, so I can really get out the brushes and get splatting and making some things looking really kind of over the top. I mean, the smaller, which is what this story calls for, which is a kind of this sort of teleporting beast fighting this lady. The smaller you go, the easier it is to kind of understand like what the layout and the structure of these things are. As you start getting bigger, you start to lose a little bit of perspective. So unless this is on a wall and I'm constantly stepping back and redrawing things, by the time I'm this close, I need this guide just to make sure that everything I've got still fits in with my original layouts. And more or less, as I've gone through this and built this up over the last sort of few hours, it pretty much fits in. So what I'm going to do now, I'm now at this stage where I'm happy with the structure. I've started developing this a little bit further in terms of, adding some of these details in, these flashes and things like that. I'm now at a point where I'm basically just going to go hell for leather and just keep layering and layering and layering and doing as much pencil work as I can until it gets to a point where I think, okay, any more penciling is going to overwork this, and I don't want to spend time on this that I could be spent doing the inking. Equally, I do need to make sure that when I get to the inking stage that I know roughly what the textures of this armor is going to be, that I know what the textures of this kind of deformed mutant dog thing is going to be, so like I do need to make sure that those things are taken care of. And if I've got them all up here, that's fine, but when you're spending a long time on a piece of work, I think you need the guides to be at that level. Now, I wouldn't normally work in this way because, like I said, in terms of the detail, that's something, stylistically, I'm a little bit loosey-goosey with some of this stuff. But I think with this particular one, it does need that in order to keep the structure of this sort of thing working. So that's basically a long-winded way of me saying, yeah, I'm about to launch into all of this, and for the next hour, I'll just do a whole load and then I'll stop wherever I stop. It won't be complete, I'm sure, because there's quite a lot to do here. But it certainly will be further on, and hopefully this will give you what I want to do. I don't know how much I'm going to do. I'm not going to do much with that on. I think maybe I'll just put the background light on a little bit. What I do is just keep turning it on and off just to make sure that I'm happy with how that's working, which I am. I like how these guys have turned out. They're in the office. I added some sort of chairs and stuff below the horizon line just to make it feel like they're in an office environment. Added some papers and things like that. But again, By the time I get to the inking stage, I'll probably change a load more of this stuff, but let's just see how we get on. So I won't spend too long noodling, but I do want to develop this a bit more. So let's crack on with that. Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm so fresh like the morning, mouth wide open like they yawning. Every time they see me, they in G-Shock. Homie, this is too far. Homie, I feel too alive. You can see me like Illuminati. You can see me like Illuminati. But I'm shining so bright, so bright. Don't come and try to share some of this light, no. Give me a beat and I control it like a maestro. Ladies on a mission, they be trying to get me wiped up. Shawty, wait a minute, can't tell if I like ya. Gotta make sure you know how to shake it like a bartender. Team with me and they all winners. And you know we ballin' all winter, all summer. Jewelry round my neck is lightning, but I'm all thunder. Keep coming with it. Keep coming with it. Keep coming with it. Place your bets on us. Get your money and flip it, yeah. Keep coming with it. Keep coming with it. Keep coming with it. Place your bets on us. Get your money and flip it. Bring a friend and come along. Don't be taking too long. The vibe's too strong. If you don't know how to move, then we moving on. Ain't no way rhythmic feet up in this place. If you can't catch the feeling, then get out the way. I've been reeling and fish from the lake. They keep saying I'm down to earth, but I'm really out of space. All these women aliens, super foreign, so exotic. Hopping the Mercedes Benz, and I got them crushing like ice pouring above. It's overflowing on us. You drop it, then pick it up. I think I'm falling in love, but shawty, this isn't what you probably thinking it was. It's a vibe out, cooling it for the weekend. It's us. You gon' find out once you come on and bring me that up.